Tonight, I want to try to help you, I want to empower you, equip you, so you can convince people who are not paying all that close attention to what's going on in the world. You can help educate them. And I think we really have to have a difference in tone. Name calling and everything else is not going to work for anybody else. And I don't say we name call people. We speak the truth, but the people who are left don't care. We have to give them cold, hard facts about how it affects them. Those present a devastating case, those facts against Obama, and are the reason his campaign will talk about anything but the facts. The war on women, Romney's trip to Wawa, his income tax, he might be a felon, he tied his dog on the roof. They're just discouraging people, and people aren't listening. Here are the facts. Obama promised he would heal the world, right? He bragged just a couple of weeks ago about being most proud of healing the rifts between America and the rest of the world. That's not entirely true. In fact, I believe it's not even partially true. Let me show you some stats. George W. Bush was supposedly the most hated man in the entire globe, right? They were throwing shoes at him, if I remember right. This matters to your friends. Not the stats I'm going to show you, but what the stats tell them. Their children are in more danger today than they were 4 years ago or 8 years ago. Here are the facts. Since Obama took office, the favorability ratings toward the U.S., Egypt is down 3 points. From Bush to Obama. Down. How did you go down from George W. Bush? Jordan, down 7 points. Pakistan, down 7 points. So America was more likable under the most hated man in the world than it currently is under Barack Obama. Okay, what about just the numbers of Obama since he took office until now? Britain now is down 9 points. Germany, remember, he was the rock star in Germany, down 12 points. France is down 6 points. Obama claimed in 2008 that he had a better plan for Afghanistan. Okay, let's look at what the result is on Afghanistan. And I don't even know what we're doing in Afghanistan anymore. The troops should have been pulled the day we killed Osama bin Laden, but they're not. In Iraq, we had a surge. And the first of the surge didn't work, but then it did, and then we got our troops out when Obama came in. Great. Okay. In 2001, it was about, how much was it in 2001? About $15 billion? $20 billion. $20 billion is what the war was costing us in Afghanistan. But now in 2010, strangely, it is $105 billion. And in 2011, the war in Afghanistan was $118 billion. Okay, right, if it works, if it's getting us out, if it's making things better, okay. I don't know how you went from that. We were this is when we first went in, it was $20 billion. It's now $118 billion. But let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the strategy is working. No. More U.S. soldiers have been killed and wounded during this president's first 3 years than in George W. Bush's entire 2 years. In fact, 70% of the deaths in Afghanistan have been in the last 3 years under Obama's watch. In less than half the time, 70%. Does that matter? Yes. Your son or daughter could be next. There's a global war coming. It is coming, I'm telling you. Does he know how to be the commander-in-chief? Are his policies making us more safe? Since taking office, Obama has signed into law, to keep you safe, the NDAA law. Now, what is that? That makes it illegal, or legal to assassinate you without trial. American citizens without trial. It is a system where the president is personally overseeing a secret kill list. This president has waged a war on Libya without congressional approval. He started a covert drone war in Yemen, escalated in the proxy war in Somalia, escalated the CIA drone war in Pakistan, will maintain a presence in Iraq even after ending the war. Do we have an end to that at all? He sharply has escalated the war in Afghanistan to devastating results. And he has also secretly deployed American forces now in at least 75 nations all around the world. Did you know that? According to testimony before the House Armed Services Committee, approximately 85% of all of our special operations troops are deployed in those 75-plus nations overseas. 20 of them are in the greater Middle East. Where are the rest? They won't tell us. Nobody knows where they are. They're secret. Obama stood behind the Arab Spring, and now Reuters is the latest to begrudgingly admit that has completely backfired and turned into exactly what I warned would happen. Quote, this is Reuters. The Arab Spring is not as beneficial to the West as been hoped. Okay, for those people who wanted to believe that it might be good, it's not. This is the underestimate of the year. Since the American ambassador and the U.S. embassies are literally on fire all across the Middle East, Reuters decides the Arab Spring appears not to have made as many friends for America as Americans might have hoped. The very countries in which Washington helped facilitate popular-backed regime change last year, Egypt, Tunisia, Libya, and Yemen, are now seeing some of the greatest anti-West backlash. The young pro-democracy advocates who leapt to the fore in 2011, Washington now believes, have relatively little clout. That leaves the U.S. and European officials having to deal with groups such as the Muslim Brotherhood, which this president still says is good. This is a reality. Even the mainstream media is beginning to see it. Yet our president, the guy who's going to keep you, your family, your house, your homeland safe for the next 4 years, goes on to 60 Minutes and says things are getting better. Watch.
There will probably be some times where we bump up against some of these countries and have strong disagreements, but I do think that over the long term, we're more likely to get a Middle East and North Africa that is more peaceful, more prosperous, and more aligned with our interests.
It is so ironic because that is exactly what Woodrow Wilson said about the revolution that he supported in Russia, that finally the people were free and this new communist idea would be a great, strong ally and the people would be much better off. Were they? All I'll say here to this, besides pointing out the obvious violence flare-up all over the Middle East, is this. CNN was able to obtain our dead Libyan's ambassador's private diary. Now, I want you to think about this. Are you safer than you were 4 years ago? Our ambassador is killed. Nobody's asking the right question of where or why was the ambassador there. His private diary is there and left there. And a field reporter comes wandering through what was left of the embassy, looks around, and finds the diary. Now, the State Department and the president is all upset that they took it and didn't turn it in. But I asked the question, the terrorist? Apparently, they got their hands on a list of Libyans who are working with the American government. Those people are as good as dead. But more importantly, what other secrets and sensitive information did the terrorists get their hands on? The guy's diary was sitting there, and CNN picked it up. I'm sure CNN wasn't the first on the scene. What else is out now? The UN is having their annual conference this week. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad is speaking on one of the holiest Jewish days of the year, and he'll likely call for Israel's destruction again. Meanwhile, our ally, Benjamin Netanyahu, gets to play second fiddle and speak the day after. President Obama last night on television called Netanyahu's concerns over being vaporized noise.
You're saying you don't feel any pressure from Prime Minister Netanyahu in the middle of a campaign to try and get you to change your policy and draw a line in the sand? You don't feel any pressure?
When it comes to our national security decisions, any pressure that I feel is simply to do what's right for the American people. And I am going to block out any noise that's out there.
Okay. If Israel falls, it is in our it is in our nation's interest. Be very selfish, be very greedy. How much are you going to pay for oil then? Where is there anyone in the Middle East that has a strong democracy? That is in our interest. Because if they fall, it sweeps the Middle East and then it leaps to Europe. Now, he says that it's noise coming from our ally. It's noise. That's like saying that about England. When Churchill was saying, please help us, I'm going to block out all that noise. Noise stuck out to me because it is exactly what someone else said recently. Watch this. We, generally speaking, do not take very seriously the issue of Zionists and their possible dangers emanating from them. Of course, they would love to find a way for their own salvation by making a lot of noise and to raise stakes in order to save themselves, but I do not believe they will succeed. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, the president of Iran, is saying the same thing our president. He's describing the reaction of Israel in the same terms. President Ahmadinejad, by the way, is scheduled in New York to meet with leaders of the Occupy Wall Street movement. Tell me that the Islamists, the socialists, and the anarchists aren't working together. They are. There is a lot of work that needs to be done. And that's why President Obama is scheduling only the most important meetings in the world while the world leaders are in town. Who's he going to meet with? None of them. He's going to be in New York, and all of the world's leaders, the world is on fire, Europe's about to collapse, he's not meeting with any of them. Instead, he's going to go on The View with Whoopi Goldberg from Sister Act and Sister Act 2. I have never in my life seen a less serious president. Pauly Shore would be more convincing as president of the United States. Your children's future. If you have a kid that's 15 years old, he will be fighting in whatever war is left undone or is coming. Back to your friends who aren't paying attention. I don't know if you can show them a map of unrest around the globe and what these policies have created and have them be concerned. But these are all verifiable and nonpartisan. If Romney wins, there is no secret cure. The world is coming undone. The world is significantly unstable. But do we continue down the path where you still think that the Arab Spring is a good thing, that the Muslim Brotherhood is a good thing? I have a couple of other reasons you need to share with your friends. One is the project. If anyone thinks the Muslim Brotherhood is good, I tell you, I've talked about spooky stuff on this program. This may be the spookiest stuff. And it is terrifying because we are in the last phases of it, and we have known about it since 9/11. The last president knew about it, and this president knew about it. And they both made horrible mistakes. This one is about to spike the football. No one has told you about this. And the thing that I'm overwhelmed with, this is an 8-month project we've been working on. Once you have this key, the project, it is so unbelievably simple to know how to deal with the Muslim Brotherhood, the Middle East, and the rest of the world. It's so easy to see it and say, oh my gosh, we are in much more danger now. Reverse engines, quickly. Is the world safer than it was 4 years ago? No, because our president, I don't think, just is wrong on things. But he doesn't seem to be engaged at all. Do you remember that ad with Hillary Clinton? The 3 a.m. phone call? With all of his appearances on TV shows and everything else, that phone is still in the office. But who's answering it? I mean, he has fundraisers. He visits with Beyonce and TV shows. If that phone rings in the White House now and no one's there to answer it, did it ever really ring?